Right, let's get comfy. Okay, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have not sat down in front of the camera and spoke in a fully kind of sit down video in a very long time, and I've finished university. But it's okay, we're trying to sort my life out. This video is not a life update, it's gonna have some updates in it, but as you can tell from the title, this is quite a random one. I'm gonna be looking at my A-level biology notes. It's not just come from nowhere, it's not just entirely random. I am having to look back at my notes, and I thought, why not look at my notes and see how they've kind of evolved from A-level to university. It's a random video, there is a reason why I'm doing it though. So yeah, I suppose I should maybe start with that, like why am I looking at my A-level notes, or some of them anyway, which I have in this folder here. So let's just get that out the way, and this is where there are some updates. I don't even know where to start. Also, whatever's going on in my room right now, it's just giving you the general vibe of my life. I feel as though I'm drowning and my room is a bit of a tip and everything's everywhere, but it's okay. Anyway, if you've watched some of my last videos about jobs and applying for jobs, you will know that I have been applying and am in the process of applying for teaching jobs. They are to be a biology teacher, and the main question that has come from that is, how can you apply to be a teacher when you are not qualified at all? And the answer to that question is, I'm applying for programs where I will be able to teach kind of full-time, but at the same time I'm getting a qualification, namely a PGCE. That will mean I am a fully qualified teacher. That's something I am very much looking for, instead of doing a straight PGCE, because I would prefer to be actively learning how to teach and become a teacher at the same time as getting a qualification. But yeah, I will be updating you more so on this kind of stuff in like a proper life updates video. But yeah, I have applications for different teaching jobs at the moment, and they are those specific programs. I'm having to look back at my notes because I'm kind of having to not relearn, but like revise and look back at things that I haven't done in a while. Like I'm trying to go over plants, which is a little bit rusty, you know, because I did pathology in third year, and going back to plants, even though I'm still in biology, it's just like, oh my gosh, plants. I'm having to prepare lessons because part of the interview process to be a teacher, you have to teach a lesson essentially. They want to see how you kind of teach. So yeah, I'm essentially preparing a lesson, and I am currently doing one for my interview on Monday. It's currently Saturday today, and it's on photosynthesis, which I haven't done in a while, as I said, so it's a bit rusty, and we've got to, you know, like iron out those wrinkles. I also kind of recently did this thing with a campaign called Take Your Place, where I went to Peterborough and I was engaging with year 8 students and year 9 students. I was talking about my time at university as well as what I do online. That was a big part of it, and it was an amazing experience. It was all about kind of trying to open access to education and encourage people to do well in school, stuff like that. So yeah, also I put up a thing on my website about like tutoring and helping you guys out with personal statements and UCAS if you're applying to university. That is all being planned and is starting to manifest. If you're interested in that, feel free to sign up as well. And yeah, there's so much other stuff that I need to like talk to you guys about, whether I want to do a master's and all the other things like nutrition and dance and everything else. But as I said, this video is not the one for that. I will save it for a bit later, and also when I have my life a bit more together. At the moment I'm very much drowning, as I said, not really knowing what I'm doing. I don't really have a set plan, and it is stressing me out a bit more than I thought. I've never been at this stage where I don't know what's happening next, and I thought I'd be okay with that, but I'm just not. I'm rambling already and we're 5 minutes in, wow. But anyway, looking back at my notes, I have these notes here that I've been using essentially to make my lesson. It's really weird coming at it from a teaching perspective as opposed to being a student when you're just learning it. But about the notes, these are from A-level. I've always made revision notes, okay? They have been a staple part of my revision process, which has started from like day 1 in the classroom or in the lecture theatre. I've also always been that person that's got everything organised in folders with dividers. That's just been me personally. I'm looking back at these notes I made at A-level, and I'm kind of looking at them like, why did I do that? Like, I don't know how I kind of learned from some of these, but at the time obviously you think they're really top notch, and they are good. Like, I'm not criticizing them at all, and I think that the fact I even took these to university with me and I even did use them at points during my degree goes to show that they were good notes and I had the information there. But I suppose the way you lay it out or you try and learn from it is what I really optimized at university. I love plain paper. When I discovered plain paper and making notes on plain paper at university, it was honestly life-changing. I will link the whole video about how I make my notes in the plain paper notes that you will know about if you've watched some of my kind of study related videos. But yeah, I think that everything fell into place and I found this new way of making notes when I was given the just like freedom and flexibility at university to really take control of my own learning and be creative with it. And because everything was so new, like there was no specification as you have at school, there were no sort of rules as to what you needed to know for an exam. It was very much open-ended. It just made me sit back and think, like, what can I do to make the way I learn better? Give me a few moments. Where are you, notes? Oh, folder after folder after folder. Not that one. No. What's this? Yes, here. Okay. We're back. Mum is having way too much fun cutting the grass. I would say that I didn't even discover making plain paper notes until second year. And you're probably also thinking, why is this such a big deal, using plain paper to make notes? It sounds really ridiculous, and until you kind of try it and use it, I don't know if you'll have the same revelation. You might not even have the same revelation even when you use it and try it, but for me, I love it and I bang on about it all the time. The bulk of my notes that I'd made for revision purposes were handwritten. As I explained in the video that I will link, I lay them out in a very certain way. I don't just write as if I'm writing an essay because it will then go a bit wonky. I position things in ways that makes it easy for me to visualize that plain piece of paper, because I did make another video about how they have really helped me to optimize memorizing information because it's almost like a photographic memory thing. I also use very minimal color. It's mostly black and then it's color coded a bit, but the thing with the color coding is that it's very specific. So I always used red to like highlight something very important. I used green to always write about an experiment that had been used to prove a certain point. It was color coded in a way that made sense and wasn't just random, and that really changed the way that my revision notes worked. But also I did type a lot of my notes, and that took place especially in third year, when the amount of information that I had to learn went from like here in second year to like up here, like in space, you know. It was just insane. I honestly thought my brain was not going to cope with the amount of information that I learned. I thought that everything I was trying to learn was going in and then straight out again because I didn't have enough space to hold it all. But anyway, and often because I was doing so much more wider reading in third year as well, there was just so much more that I wanted to write down and make notes on, so typing it was so much faster. So I did use plain paper notes, handwritten, and those that I had typed and then printed out obviously on plain paper. So these are from my first year and they're on like photosynthesis because I have my A-level notes on photosynthesis for direct comparison. That's pretty good, but as I said, I mean, some of the notes I made in first year were still on lined paper because I hadn't really made the full transition. Again, I've got some here. There's a bit of highlighter on there, and if you know me, you know I don't like highlighter. We did away with highlighters in second year. Oh, I just don't like highlighting at all. Yeah, they're in the layout that I kind of adopted from second year onwards. These are an example of some notes that I used in third year. Oh my gosh, there are certain sets of notes that I loved and I really absorbed information from, and this is an example of them. Oh my gosh, like whenever I used to revise this topic, I used to revise it A, because I really liked the topic anyway, but B, because the notes were just, I just loved the notes. Okay, hello. They get a bit messier as the exam period goes on because whenever I keep going over things, I would scribble and circle everything and try and like pick things out so that it sticks in my brain. But yeah, these notes, oh gosh, I just loved these. They made so much sense. They were in the perfect ordering. In one of the exams, I even wrote an essay on this and I literally just went through my notes from my head step by step. I didn't even have to plan the essay. And then just for completeness, as I said, I typed some of my notes, and again I kind of found a way of typing notes that really made sense and worked for me. I didn't like making bullet points with an indent. If I was making bullet points, it would be within a paragraph, but it would have like numbers 1, 2, 3. It would be in one paragraph, and for me that worked so much better than bullet points. I don't know why. This is an example. It's actually an essay that I then used for revision purposes. So with the typed notes, for me it was really important that, as you can see down the side, I like write things down the side because I found it harder to learn from something that was typed instead of handwritten. So I'd always leave a wide enough margin when I printed it out to make little notes, and it would basically summarize what was in that paragraph. I just take out the key points. That was just so much easier to learn from instead of it just being typed. So yeah, and I'd also underline things and not highlight things, but you know, underline in red, for example, if it's very important. When I was trying to learn it, if my notes were really good, like these ones that I just loved, I could essentially learn from those directly. But if the notes weren't that great or the topic wasn't really going in, I would then obviously, you know, like make so many flashcards. A lot of the revision for me took place by like writing things down, like writing and rewriting things out, like trying to basically replicate my notes. And then another thing for me is essay plans. I am whipping through these and I will make dedicated videos about like how I made essay plans, which for me works really well with mind maps. Now that I've kind of finished university and I've gone way beyond what I ever expected to achieve, I kind of feel like I can share information and advice now, because before I was always like, if this method isn't trialed and tested, then why am I going to put it online and share it with you guys, because I might not know that it works. Whereas now I'm kind of like, I think the way that I revised really worked, then I feel more confident to share it, if that makes sense. So you can leave like suggestions down below or message me on Instagram. I'm just going to throw this in here as well as an interlude because I will probably forget at the end of the video. But there has been a new launch on Nana. I'm not actually wearing it, but we launched the black tees and we also restocked the white tees. So we now have black and white Nana tees. They are again on my website, which you can check out down below if you want to join the Nana squad. But now to the other side, moving to my A-level notes. I'm just looking at A-level. I didn't dive back to GCSE, but essentially at GCSE, I just didn't know how to revise. They're not accessible to me right now, that's why I'm not looking at them, but I know for a fact that they were very disorganized. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I mean, A-level, it definitely improved a lot, but yeah, my GCSE notes, they were all over the place. Okay, so these notes, I'm just going to start with these because this is what most of them look like. This is on, if you are wondering, the different organelles in eukaryotic cells. Fun times. It's lined paper, it's not plain paper. Also, what do I want to say? Yeah, these notes, okay, my university notes, they took me some time, but when I was pushed for time and I had to get something done, I could make notes really, really quickly. Whereas these at A-level, oh my gosh, they took me ages. Okay, I think partly it was because I was trying to get information from so many different resources, which I still did at university, but I also was then trying to look through a textbook and the stuff that teachers had given me, and I'd also write in such long sentences as if it was an essay, whereas at university I realized that I could say something in very few words and that was all it needed. It didn't need to be this waffly sentence with therefore, thus, however, respectively, commas everywhere, however, blah blah blah. It was just too much, and I didn't realize that until I came to university. My notes at like A-level, it's just like sentences and excess information. I also spent ages because I cut diagrams out. You see here, this is something that I printed out, cut out, used glue, which always used to annoy me because it would make me so sticky and ugh. Anyway, I'd stick it in. I was highlighting things, which I now obviously am not a fan of. But yeah, I'd also draw diagrams and I'd spend ages trying to make it perfect. I'd use Tipex a lot of the time, which I kind of just did away with in the end because you really just don't need Tipex. Just cross it out, but one line through it and it's fine. Also, another thing is that the color coding is random. It was just kind of to make it look pretty. This, for example, it kind of has some logic to it, but it's all kind of blocked out in one color and there's nothing that is telling me that this needs to stand out. Like, I'm looking at this page, like, it looks nice, it looks beautiful, but in terms of revision purposes, how are you supposed to get anything out of this? Like, are you supposed to spend hours reading through this information just to find the relevant points? There's nothing in that that is standing out to me, and for revision purposes, that's not effective. Okay, Holly, we had a lot to learn. I also went away from mind maps for when I was making notes at university, and I realized that they were so good for essay plans, not for making notes. I was just never a fan of mind maps for the note making and revision notes, but hey. On the back we underline a few things, but still it's just, we've just spent so long cutting things out and sticking things in when it's not worth that time. I would rarely type things at A-level, but I kind of did a similar thing as I'd like annotate the type notes as I did at university. But yeah, I didn't really do that very often. And these are like kind of flashcards, but not flashcards, because these are my notes essentially, but they're not on A4 paper, they're just on small bits of yellow card. And these are my like photosynthesis notes. Yeah, it was just all kind of a bit random and I didn't have that much consistency. I was just trying different things, which is fine. Like, you definitely need to try different things and find a way that works for you. Obviously, like at university, I still made flashcards. I still use so many past papers because exam technique is so important. I also made heavy use at A-level of specifications because they're essentially telling you what you need to learn, and it's just a very condensed version of your course. I don't have those to hand. I don't know where those notes are, but I did print out my specifications and annotate those a lot of the time, and especially in like year 13, my final year of school, because that worked amazingly for me because I had the condensed notes. I could expand on it a bit from my notes and bring it all together that way. That's my notes. Looking back at them, that's kind of all I wanted to say and have to say about them. They've evolved and they've changed, and the most important thing is that they've improved. Learning and revising is also personalized as well, and I think the most important thing is just trying different methods and seeing what works best. Obviously, note taking for me was just one aspect of my revision, and as I said, it is an ongoing process, but I am a person that likes to start revision early and start that process as soon as possible. But yeah, so I hope that was kind of semi-useful and interesting. I don't really know where this video came from. I'll speak to you very soon in another video. Thanks for watching as always, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye!
We'll